this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Get It Right Texoma with the trio. We're your host. I'm Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Serrata. Glad to have you with us once again. And however you get the program, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, however you listen to us or watch us, thank you very much for doing that.
Actually, Spotify would probably be your best. That way you don't have to look at us.
That's true. Yeah, that way you can you can imagine that we're handsome.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, need to have those put faces in front of us, those cutout faces.
And go like our Facebook page too.
Yes,
just
please
don't forget
do.
About
well,
that.
see, then they got to look at us.
Yeah, we got our photo on there, which I need to update.
I was going to say there's one on there of me. Well, at one time the logo was right in front of my face, which I think that's good. It's actually better for me, or better for the viewer. But also, I think there's one of me going looks like or something stupid.
You look a little high.
I look dumb. Which I am dumb, but I try not to look at all the time.
Oh my gosh. Podcast being brought to you by Eddie Hills Fun Cycles at 401 North Scott in downtown Wichita Falls, Texoma's Power Sports Authority.
Since 1966.
That's right. EddieHillsFunCycles.com. MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road, Wichita Falls. We are in the MacTech Solutions podcast studios, by the way.
Yes.
That's where we do this show from. And that's, again, 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com. And if you're in the market for a new device, an Apple device, computer, tablet, Apple Watch, whatever.
TV.
Apple TV, Apple
If you
TV
want an Apple,
Plus.
go to United. If you want an Apple device, come here.
That's right. Yes. The apples here are not edible.
Yes.
No.
Not really. Not even with salt on them. It's weird. And MacTech-Solutions.com. What is edible, though, are the delicious sweets from Lolly and
That
Pops
was a good transition.
Sweet
dude.
Shop.
That was almost like a pro right there.
I'm telling you, man, it's like I've done this before. LPSweet.com, the website, also on Facebook.
By the way,
Sweet Shop.
we had a Chamber After Hours event at Eddie Hills Fun Cycles the other night, and all three of us were there.
Yeah.
And Mike brought a pretty good-sized box of cookies from all of Lolly and Pops.
Yeah.
There wasn't one left after it was quick. It looked like Tasmanian Devil had gone through there or something.
We had 3 or 4 dozen cookies in that box. I mean, it was heavy when I brought it in. Yeah. And it was gone.
It was gone pretty quick.
Yeah.
They were chocolate chip cookies, and they were good. I might have had one.
Oh, yeah. I deliberately skipped out on those because I eat too many of them as it is.
Oh,
man.
they're so hard. Cookies are so hard.
I'm telling you.
To get to good cookies, that's my kryptonite.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's hard to pass up. It really is. It
Yeah.
really, really is. Well, anyway, we got a few things going on. Campfire Day Camps are coming up June 10th through the 28th, Monday through Friday, first grade through 8th graders.
And I believe it's if you're going into first grade. So as long as you're on your way into first grade, I believe you can participate.
Take part in that. And it's $150 per child for 1 week. Breakfast and lunch served. They've got security.
Yeah, they have a Wichita Falls police officer.
Yeah.
PD is there.
Yep. They get free swimming lessons for all the campers.
And it's a nice pool. The Campfire pool is only about 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
It's a relatively new pool.
Yep.
Really good pool. And and day camp's great. Once again, and like I said on the deal, get your kids somewhere. Yeah. Camp this, camp that, camp something. Get them outside. Get them doing something.
Right. Go to campfireNTX.org, campfireNTX.org to find out more. And I think they've got the forms online. You can fill out. You can
fill it all out.
Pay for it. Everything right there on the website to get it all taken care of there. But that is starting June the 10th, so which is not that far away now.
Yeah, but the thing is, you need to get registered now. Because you don't want to miss out.
Yeah, because they will get full quick.
They generally fill up. Yeah.
The Downtown Art Walk is coming up June the 4th. It's the first Thursday of every month, though, and goes through October. So every, the first Thursday of every month, weather permitting, unless there's a, baseball-sized hail and a tornado on the ground, they're probably going to have the art walk.
And I think that July is an exception because July 4th, I believe, is on a Thursday.
Is it? Okay.
I believe that's right. I think I'm right. I could be wrong.
Okay. All right.
It's a 50-50 chance. I'm either right or wrong.
Yeah, either right. One way or the other.
Yeah, but so if that's the case, it'll be on a different day.
It's 5:30 to 9 each time it happens. Again, first Thursday of every month through October. And it seems like the event.
Yeah, July 4th is on July 4th is on a Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
So obviously the art walk won't be that day. It'll be a different day. We'll find out and we'll let people know.
Looks like it's July 11th. I think
it just seems like the event just grows and grows.
Oh, it is so much fun. It really is. So. You go downtown, and by the way, at that time the sun is starting to go down a little bit, and downtown it's still hot, but the sun's not blazing down on you because the buildings were pretty good size down there. Mm-hmm. And you get right down there, and there's vendors everywhere. There's there's food, there's crafts, there's art, there's people playing music. And it's one of those deals. It's kind of like going to like the Pancake Festival or something like that, or the gun show. You just see so many people that you don't know you would know. You will run into somebody there for sure. Speaking of gun shows, we need to find out from Preacher when the next gun show is going to be.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself a note, and I'll find out from that.
You reach out on that. Reach out and touch someone. Right?
That's right. Well, once again, then
just wash your hands.
Last time I did that, I went to jail. So no. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
It's just trying to have a little fun, folks. That's all. Yeah. Just trying to have a little fun. That's all. Do we want to? Let's see here. Do we want to?
We're talking about water.
Water.
You teased it.
Let's get into that. Yeah, because this is going to take a while. Okay, so we have, for those of you that don't live here that are watching our podcast, we live in an area of North Texas that went through a very serious period of drought in the mid 2000s through 2015. So about 2007, 2008 through about 2015, we had a very serious drought situation here.
National news type drought.
Yes. We actually, so two things happened. Number one, some very innovative people came up with an idea that became known as the Water Reuse Project, where they literally built a pipeline across the city to take treated effluent, that's sewer water, from the sewer treatment plant, basically upstream to the water treatment facilities on the other side of the city. Treat that water further. It actually went through a 3-step process. It went through reverse osmosis, the traditional filtration, and ultraviolet light, UV light treatment.
Just real quick to back up just a little bit. What generally happens is a city or a water district or whatever will treat water, and it's called affluent water, and they'll release that back into the wild.
Yes.
Into their reservoir, their lake, or whatever.
Here it was dumped into the big Wichita River.
Yeah, they'll release that back into the wild, and then they pump not fresh, but as fresh as they pump water out of the lake. Right. So basically, this was bypassing that, dumping it back into the wild.
Right.
And what happens is you save so much water because one of the largest use of water is the sun.
Right.
Evaporation.
Evaporation.
Yeah, you can't use more water than the sun can take. Evaporation.
We recouped about 7 million gallons a day.
That's a lot
of effluent.
Yeah, and by the way, affluent water, if you go and it's treated in probably anywhere in the country, not the world, but in the country, but especially the state of Texas, you could go drink that water.
Yeah,
people probably wouldn't do it, but that water is so clear, is way more clean than what's pumped out of the lakes.
Yeah,
right.
Now that pipeline has been moved, and we actually dumped that water into Lake Arrowhead, which is our principal reservoir. So we're still recouping that water. We're just doing as most, and this is something a lot of communities have been doing for years, and that's pumping that effluent into a reservoir. It blends with the lake water and then gets pumped to the water treatment facility for preparation to be pumped into the potable water system.
I still think they can bypass that, though. I think they can still do that direct to pipeline, but they don't do it all the time.
That was part of the deal. If I remember right, part of the approval process for that was that once you got beyond a certain point,
I'll see get Russell Schreiber in here because for some reason I thought that there was a way to redirect that water.
Well, they cut up the pipeline. They took it apart.
Yeah, that was the original.
I think there was a way to redirect. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I remember hearing that at some point that they could turn that on and off.
It was an innovative thing that saved us because our lakes, Lake Arrowhead, our principal reservoir, was below 19% capacity. I think it was like 18.7 or 8% capacity. Very, very low. We were very, very close to running out of water.
Yeah.
And by the way, real quickly, when you get down that low, the water you're drawing, once again, I'm not a water expert, just logic. The water you're drawing out of the lake has to be dirtier than water taken from here. It's like anything else. Dirt, most particulates are heavier than the water, so they fall to the bottom.
It's more dense overall, even if because you're still drawing it probably from the same place. It's just definitely more dense with
that's what I'm more particulates.
Yeah.
Clean a fish tank.
Yep.
Clean your fish tank and suck water from here and then suck water from the bottom, and it's way different.
The fish got to poop somewhere, and they don't hop out and go to the porta potty.
Gravity still works in water.
Saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had one of the things that they also enacted were drought restrictions. We had water restrictions that were put into place. Some were temporary, but some were made permanent. And we still have level 1 drought restrictions in place in Wichita Falls today.
So they're really not permanent unless they're under drought restriction. In other words, the city council could remove the drought restrictions where there are none.
They can. But some of these, it's been made pretty much common knowledge that they're not going to back off this stuff. Residential addresses have to water on days that are limited based on address. I think they still do the even odd thing. You can't water with sprinklers between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Spray irrigation can't be allowed to run down the curb more than about 50 feet. One of the things I used to see that drove me absolutely insane was to be driving down the street at 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and the city's sprinklers and the medians are on, and one of those sprinkler heads has popped out, and water shooting 30 feet in the air, and 90% of it's landing in the street, and there's no one to call at that hour to come out and fix it. You call the police non-emergency number, and maybe they find someone to come fix it, or maybe they don't. I don't know. But it just drive me nuts. I haven't seen that in a long time. Of course, I'm usually in bed by 7 because I'm getting old. But anyway, but bubbler, drip, soaker irrigation cannot run down the curb more than 5 feet. But you can use that type of irrigation any day of the week. So those soaker hoses that basically just sweat water, those are okay anytime. The big question here is this. Having these restrictions in place, permanently, semi-permanently, whatever the situation is, does this hamper us in attracting new business to our city? Does this inhibit us? Now, I will tell you, this has been my take on this, guys, for a long time now. The city had policies in place, and I think they've modified these somewhat. They've had policies in place for years that said, if you have X number of square feet of parking space, you have to have a certain amount of landscaping. You had to basically create a green space, green spaces around your business. So you had to plant a certain number of trees, number of shrubs, flowers, whatever. Well, very often what would happen is you'd end up planting these trees or flowers or whatever.
At your expense. And the watering system at your expense.
And they end up dying because
you can't water them.
You can't water them.
Yeah.
Or you plant these, and we saw this happen in downtown Wichita Falls years ago, where somebody got this wise idea that
the trees.
Hey, it'd be a cool idea to plant some trees in the sidewalks. And so they did, and the tree roots destroyed the sidewalks. And now, 40 years later, we still have these sidewalks downtown that are in really horrible shape.
And
really horrible shape.
They're the business owner's responsibility to fix them, which makes no sense. Look,
even though they didn't tear them up.
That's how, guys, this is how I am. If I control it and I quote unquote own it, and which means if I own it, I control it.
It's on you.
Then it's on me. If I have to let you use it and I don't own it and I can't keep you off of it, it's on you.
Yeah. That's the
way it should be.
Well, and we could get into
anybody with logical standards.
We could get into a whole other discussion about the sidewalks and all that stuff. But where the water is concerned, do these watering restrictions impact us on attracting businesses and other residents, new residents to our city? Is this something that would deter someone from coming here, relocating a business here, opening a new business here? Do the water restrictions, and I would say where this could be the most impactful is if you're in an industry that is water reliant, where you really have to depend on water. Vitro would be a great example of this.
Vitro's used to be PPG, Pittsburgh Plated Glass. They use glass, right. And when you're burning glass, they use super high heats and they melt glass and create glass. They use a lot of water.
They actually have water towers to cool their equipment with on site. And what happened is during the drought, the city of Wichita Falls actually built a secondary pipeline, for lack of a better way to put it, that carried raw water or untreated effluent or semi-treated effluent or whatever it was, but it carried raw, undrinkable water out to non-potable water. Thank you. Out to Vitro, so they could keep their towers full, so they wouldn't shut their business down and leave town.
They just weren't drinking it; they were just using it. Right. It's like putting something in your radiator. It's kind of basically they're using it to cool like a radiator on a car. Even though you don't. By the way, don't put water in your radiator unless you have to. Yeah. You use antifreeze. Because antifreeze actually helps cool better than straight water does.
It has a higher boil point.
Yes, yeah. Yes. I mean, straight water will work, and coffee will work. If you ever watched, what was it, Red Dawn? You know what else will work to get your in your radiator? Anything will work in a pinch. Yep. Any liquid will work in a pinch.
Do what you got to do.
Get it flushed.
But flush it out. Put antifreeze in it. That's your tech tip from Trey Serrala. Your auto tech tip.
But if you're an industry that's dependent on water, I can see where this might cause you to have second thoughts about us.
Well, but it's also, I think the Lake Ringgold project would have maybe a bigger impact on a company who's going to maybe plant roots here over a longer period.
I got a little take on this one.
Okay,
we're at 70+%,
74% today,
74% capacity right now.
Which for us is really good.
Well, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, okay. And so we still have these drought restrictions in place. Mm-hmm. After going through COVID, and everybody in the country went through COVID, people that are relocating here, especially people that are relocating from the West Coast, they went through hella COVID as far as restrictions go.
Yeah. Commie COVID.
Are you, that's a good one. Are you excited about or wary about some place that's going to give you restrictions when there's really no evidence of restrictions needed? I think people have had a complete assful of restrictions from governments. Yeah.
Well, now I'll play a little devil's advocate here, though. I can see where, and they do this. The city officials behind all of this will make the argument that part of the reason that we're able to reach these numbers right now with the lakes is because of the water restrictions.
Maybe.
Now, I will say this. I think we're getting better about not requiring businesses to plant so many stinking plants in their parking lots and around their businesses that eat up water. I think we probably are getting better about, I think the term is xeriscaping, where you plant, it's a concept of planting plants that are native and adapted to the climate.
Cactus, rocks.
That don't require
plant rocks,
daily watering.
Like that,
they can survive on whatever moisture they can pull out of the soil.
Yeah, and the rain that we get.
The rain that we get, you don't have to go out there and turn the sprinklers on. I think we're getting much, much better about that. I think people are more attuned to conserving water than we were probably 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. Which makes me question, are the restrictions still necessary?
That's what I'm getting at, Mike. Okay, so I'll take the argument. Your argument. And I see you're totally devil's advocate. This is what we do. The argument is, it's because of this. One of the reasons is because we're there. That's fine. Yeah. If everybody wore an ankle monitor, crime would go down. Are we willing to do that? I'm just telling you, at some point, it's the same bullshit argument as I hear when I hear people say, if it saves one life, which I want to slap people that say that, because if you believe that, if you actually believe that some government rule will save one life, then you must believe that we have to eliminate cars, or at least put a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, because we know that human beings can survive without cars. Human beings survived hundreds of thousands of years without cars. Most of humankind had no cars, so we know it can happen. It would be inconvenient, it would be yada, yada, and yada, yada, but it would save one life. It would save a shitload of lives. Yeah. Or if you lowered the speed limit, and when I say lowered the speed limit, government regulated those cars to where they would only run 30 miles an hour. Yeah. It would save millions of lives. Are you willing to do that? So if you're not, then back up and go, at what point are you willing to say enough is enough on restrictions?
Right. So where at this point in time, where is it that you are at the current restrictions that's keeping you from doing something?
Nothing at all because I don't live here.
Well, no, but I mean, but put your place somebody who lives
watering when it's convenient for me.
Yeah. Okay, so just.
I mean, yeah, and part of it is too, Terry. It's not just how much is affecting. It's the restriction. COVID didn't affect my business either. Right. But it was bullshit.
Well,
when they shut businesses down.
You're right.
And it didn't affect any of those fun cycles because we stayed open.
Well, maybe there's.
But I still was against the shutdowns.
Well. Yeah, that's fine. I get it. But it is a unique thing, though. It's a unique resource.
It is, but
it's to me, it's the same thing that we all agree that we don't want to put out a bunch of pollution or air pollution. Yeah. So why not? Try to maintain this. This is a unique thing. I mean, water. I mean, we can't live without water.
Right, but we're not anywhere close to being out of water.
No,
So that's what I'm getting. Why don't we have restrictions when restrictions are needed? Rather than basically we're going to put restrictions in and just say that this is
and I will tell you, now you mentioned how evaporation, we lose more water to evaporation than we do consumption.
Oh, yeah, by far.
That's a given. But also, the water reuse project that I talked about at the beginning of this conversation, that project to this day, depending on usage, is putting somewhere between 7 to 8 up to as much as 12 million gallons a day of treated effluent back into our principal reservoir. And by not just dumping that treated water, that effluent, into a river, which, by the way, in the old days, it would have gone into the Big Wichita River, which flows down to the Red River, which would have ended up at Lake Texoma, a couple of hours to the east of us. So, everybody, by the way, everybody wants to make fun of, all the poo water at Lake Arrowhead. Now, guess what? If you ever swam at Lake Texoma back in the day, you were swimming in our poo water.
And by the way, I think, let me correct myself here. I think that's where I misunderstood. I think they do shut that pipeline off sometimes, though. Yeah. So I'm correcting myself. They disassembled. They did the pipeline directly to the lake, right? But they do shut that off at times. There's times that it does go into the river.
Yes.
Right. So I was incorrect on my memory on that. I was incorrect on it. I did remember that they had the reuse pipeline. Yeah. It's not a direct reuse pipeline. It's an indirect reuse pipeline, but they don't use it all the time.
And I think they're actually the diversion of that may have something to do with some kind of TCEQ rule.
Part of it is that, plus expense. Yeah. It costs a lot of money to regenerate. I mean, when you're moving a lot of water, and I believe that Russell Schreiber on the radio show one time explained that to us, there's a certain amount of expense that it costs to redirect that pipe, that water, and you need to make it needs to be worthwhile.
Right.
Because normally it doesn't cost, I don't think it costs very much to just dump water. You get your affluent water and it just dumps right out of your pipeline.
Well, and I think, there's a lot of things that maybe could have been planned differently back in the day that could have changed the outcomes for us. But one way or another, we have the water resources that we have, and I do think most people are more keyed in now to the idea of conserving water and not out washing the car and just let the water hose run out in the driveway willy nilly for.
But what if you want to clean your house off?
Right.
You're not supposed to do that. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Look, what I'm saying is, I'm not against. I don't think you ought to waste water.
Right.
I think it's ugly American. It's gross to waste water. But there's a difference between what you should do and what's government mandated.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. It's the government mandate. Right. I'm not saying we shouldn't encourage people to save water. We shouldn't encourage people to have a hose that turns off when you're washing your car. We shouldn't encourage people to water certain days of the week. We shouldn't encourage all, but there's a difference between encouraging it, which a lot of people will follow, and saying, you have to, thou shalt.
Yeah, that's
a difference.
There are fines and penalties attached to violating the water restrictions that are in place.
Two different things. And there's a lot of things that I don't mind government encouraging or educating.
Yeah.
And because honestly, I think most people are going to do the right thing.
And I will tell you,
when it doesn't affect their bottom line.
Something else I've learned too is that we had back during the drought, there were a lot of people that drilled water wells.
Yeah.
To supplement their watering with, and spent a lot of money to have those wells drilled. Some of those wells got really expensive. And a lot of those people are still using those water wells to water their property simply because
of the cost.
The cost,
Well,
you water your lawn 2 or 3 times a week. Your water bill is going to jump $50-$60 a month. I can pump it out of my water well. Yeah, you're still burning electricity to run the well, but in their minds, that's a less expensive alternative for them, almost a free alternative for them to do it. So a lot of people are still utilizing the well water if they have it available.
Why not?
To water their lawns or gardens or whatever.
You've invested in the well itself, and then you're maintaining it, and it literally is. There's our literally word literally is going to be cheaper. Because that's a sunk cost. You've already done it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. Look, I'm not saying that what you could do of a city or whatever and go, if you go over a certain amount, if you're an excessive water user, and I don't mean just absolutely destroy people. I mean, you're going to pay a certain amount. What your rate is, if you pay whatever the average person uses, water use, plus 10%, you pay the lower rate. Right. But if you use over that, every gallon you use over that, or every unit of gallons you use over that, you pay a higher rate.
Well, and
that allows me to not be restricted by the government. And I know if I want to, I pay a little bit more money if I use it, and I got no problem with that because I'm consuming it.
I know in the city of Wichita Falls right now, because I'm in the real estate business too, folks. By the way, in case you need a realtor, I happen to be one of those. Just saying. If you're in Texas, I'm licensed in Texas. I have a client right now that has a property listed that is unoccupied, and their water bill for their property is about $80 a month.
Yep. Whether you use a drop of water or not,
just to have the meter and to have the service available. Yeah. You're still paying for garbage services. You're still paying for sewer fees, stormwater fees, all the other fees that are attached to that make that bill up. You're still paying for, even though you're not using one drop of water.
Because if you don't have the water turned on, there's several consequences to that, right? One is that you something might happen. But of course, during the winter, you don't want any water.
Well, and
during that time,
for purposes, for example, when that property is sold, there's going to be an inspection.
Right.
In order for us to have an inspection, all of the utilities have to be on. So that the inspector can do his or her job.
If it hadn't been turned on in a while, are there not some additional requirements?
So it can be more costly to turn them off and then back on again.
Right. That's something I would like to see a change in, where if it's an unoccupied house and you go prove that it's on the market and nobody's living, it's unoccupied. And you have you
have no use.
That's what I'm saying. Zero use. You pay a certain and they're not picking your trash up, and you're not flushing the toilet, and you have almost no use or whatever.
Right.
You pay a lot. I'm not saying it's free,
right?
Because there is an expense to the city,
but a reduced rate.
But a reduced rate.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
which
would
make absolute sense. But I will tell you though, the restrictions. I think there can be made an argument that the restrictions could potentially cause someone to think twice about locating their business here. I would really like to see some data on that. There's
probably not going to be data. You would have to find somebody and ask them, did you not go there because of restrictions?
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to find.
I'm thinking logically.
Yes.
I think logically, it's one of those. If it's between here and here, and logic just tells you, I'm seeing restrictions here that I believe are undue.
Well. But Trey,
and I'm not seeing over here.
By your own admission, you were an elected official for 12 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
How much logic did you see employed while you were on the school board? I mean, really?
There was times there wasn't logic, and I agree, but usually we tried to combat there. I tried to combat that.
Yeah,
I wasn't always successful. I will tell you that.
And I think you were, as an elected official goes, you were probably the exception, not the rule. A lot of people get elected to office, and then they develop very much a "let's go along to get along" attitude.
There is some of that.
They don't ever want to rock the boat. They don't want to be that guy or gal that's making waves. Sometimes, by God, you got to make waves.
Well, the nice thing about me was I didn't give a shit because I wasn't part of the social fabric of Wichita Falls. I didn't grow up in that world, and my customers at Eddie Hills Fun Cycles really didn't give a crap if I rocked political boats.
Yeah.
So it didn't affect me personally.
Well, and I think
other than there were people that didn't like me, and that's fine. But there was a lot. By the way, there's a lot of people that did like me because they didn't know me because of my stances.
Yeah.
I would much rather have someone in elected office who is willing to stand up when need be and raise a little hell, get loud, and take a stand on something than to just go along to get along.
It was more
every single thing.
And even if you don't agree, as long as they're consistent and they're predictable, they're not going to then just out of left field just decide something, and they're reasonable. And then once the vote or whatever the decision is made, you move on.
I always did that. Yeah,
right. You shake hands.
There was
and
plenty
you
of times
forward.
that I lost a vote by 6-1, 5-2, 4-3, whatever it was, and I fought like a demon during the deliberation time. But when the vote was called, I shut my mouth. I voted, and then there were plenty of times I walked out of that meeting and I had a reporter standing there, or I had a microphone stuck in my face from a TV reporter, and every time I said, you can go back and check the record. Every time I said what I said in there, but I support the policy. The policy passed by majority vote, and I support it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. There you go.
We're going to wrap.
Do you want to? Let's do the state senate. This is so interesting.
Okay.
I know. Let's just jump to that and do that one, and then we'll save everything else. But this is pretty interesting, and it's pretty poignant right now because early voting is going on.
So the state Senate 30 race we're talking about, the amount of money.
Let me pull up my stuff here because I actually have an inside deal here.
The amount of money.
Well, not inside.
That's being spent on this race is quite insane. There is a tremendous amount of money changing hands.
Okay.
Dan Patrick just made a huge donation. That's our lieutenant governor here in Texas.
Yeah.
Is Dan Patrick.
So I don't know how much Jace Scarborough has collected, but I do know what Brett Hagenboo, and this is a Senate race 30. So if you live in North Texas, this is probably your Senate because it's a pretty large area. Between February 25th and May 18th, Brett Hagenboo raised almost $1.7 million in contributions.
Good grief.
1.6968272. That sounds like 1.7 to me.
Yeah.
The reason I was curious about this is because I get mailers. I've gotten more mailers. And I haven't gotten, I don't believe any from Jace Scarborough. I've gotten some emails from Jace Scarborough, but the mailers I've gotten, and I'm not being funny, I've probably gotten 15 to 20 mailers from one candidate. I got 3 in one day.
See, and
there's a bit more. I bet it's 25 because my son who's never lived at my house, and my daughter who's never lived at my house, both got
forwarded. Yeah, they did an address correction from some point.
Yeah,
thought they moved
and they got the same last name. But so his largest donation came in the form of $750,000 from Dan Patrick's campaign.
Wow. And
then his second largest donation was James Perkins, who I believe is a banker in East Texas. Almost $617,000.
So what those two added? What were they again? 617.
617 and 750,000.
That's over $1 million
more
right there.
That is making that's a vast majority of that right there. That's 1.3.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot of money.
Million right there.
Gulf States Toyota, which is down in Houston area, they were the second. They were everybody else is just individuals.
Now wait a minute.
Texas for Lawsuit Reform PAC is also one of the contributors.
How much is that?
Okay,
it doesn't say because it has. They're on the everybody else is in the other. And it's the largest of the others.
Is it Hagenboo? Is that how you say his name?
I believe that's right, Hagenboo.
So we've got a car dealership in Houston, Texas, donating to the Senate District 30 campaign.
I believe if you look up Gulf States Toyota, I believe they're based. I believe it's Houston. I believe it's called Gulf States because it's like Houston, Mississippi, Louisiana. I believe that's right. I believe they cover several different areas.
Wow.
The Friedkin Group, I guess, is behind
that blows my mind away. So
and supposedly I believe, if I'm correct, is James Perkins is from East Texas, like Lufkin or Tyler or something.
You're
like
nowhere
that.
near Senate District 30.
Yeah, so, the one that bothers me, and look, I know he's been endorsed, and look, you vote how you want to vote. I've listened to both guys. They're both probably very, very adept people, and will probably both do a good job. So I'm not going to sit here and try to say I want to try to influence somebody one way or the other on this. But I do find it interesting that the lieutenant governor is one of the ones that donates and donated the lion's share of money. Right. And where I find that a little bit disturbing is when I was on the school board, for instance, there were people I was going to vote for if they were at large positions, but I never was going to endorse anybody.
Right.
Or you stayed out of that because you might endorse one candidate, but then you might end up working with the other one.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, to me, what I don't like about this deal right here is when you're endorsing, I can understand, even though maybe Governor Abbott wants to endorse because you're not directly working with it, but if you're the lieutenant governor, you're basically the head of the Senate.
Yeah.
And I find it a little strange that the head of the Senate is going to endorse a Senate candidate.
Yeah.
Because what if the other guy wins?
Yeah. You could say it could make it a little awkward, but I tell you this, though. These politicians, especially ones that are getting such large donations, and from people that, at least on the surface, you wouldn't think should have any interest in what happens in Senate District 30, because they're not here. What do you care about that race for? There's a quote, I think it's attributed to the late Robin Williams. He said that politicians should have to wear patches on their suits like NASCAR drivers. That way we know who owns them.
Can you imagine a politician giving his victory speech? Yeah, I want to thank Pennzoil and the Chevrolet bow tie Pennzoil, Gulf States Toyota, Hedman headers and
bring that on.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap it up here.
Edelman carburetors.
We'll wrap it up over here.
We'll wrap it up here. It's thank you for joining us for this episode of Get It Right Texoma. We appreciate it. Those of you watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, however you get the show, thank you. Be sure to go to our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love your feedback.
Yeah, basically we had a camera go out, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see the weird switch. And that's just a
strange switcher, yeah. And then also we want to thank our sponsors, of course, Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls, EddieHillsFunCycles.com, MacTech Solutions, MacTech-Solutions.com, the website, and Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, LPSweet.com, and on Facebook as well. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care. We'll see you down the road. Ladies and gentlemen.